Boss battles are a staple of video gaming, however it takes a lot of thought to ensure that they're balanced not just for gameplay, but also your attention span. There's nothing inherently wrong with a lengthy boss battle, in fact narratively speaking it's occasionally unavoidable, but the design needs to be on point for you to not feel like the battle is being really dragged out and you're just wasting your time. And for this list we're only counting bosses that you take on mano a mano, so the numerous bosses from MMOs won't be making an appearance as they are specifically designed to be taken out over long periods of time by a multitude of players. I'm Josh from WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 marathon video game boss battles that almost broke you. Number 10. Darth Vader, The Force Unleashed 2. The Force Unleashed 2 is not a long game by any means, but most players' memories of it are sure to be entirely focused on the last fight against the Sith Lord Darth Vader. The bout is not only a complete slog, but players need to defeat him 3 times, with only slight variations in place to break up these phases. It's not the longest on this list, hence it being number 10, but the mind-numbing repetition makes it drag on and on and on. Your force powers are of no use either, which I know sounds mad in a game called The Force Unleashed, so you'll have to use the same limited lightsaber techniques to try and strike him down. This is then followed by him raising a bunch of Starkiller clones from the hundreds of tanks around the arena that only serves to annoy you. It's true that you can use Force Persuade to get them to attack Vader, but this assistance is minimal and you'll be mindlessly spamming the cheesiest tactic available, hoping to just speed up the fight. This all counts on you not dying in the process as well, of course, and having to restart again all the way from his first phase. If you know what you're doing, it can be around 30 minutes before taking down the Dark Lord, but on your first playthrough, this duel against one of the greatest cinematic villains of all time can seem like millennia has passed before finally getting to the end credits. Number 9. Graven Cain. Conan was a solid hack-and-slash title released in the early days of the Xbox 360 all the way back in 2007. After a short but sweet adventure, players are then treated to one of the most god-awful boss battles of this console generation. He's not only a test of your skills as a player, but he's also a test of your patience, as time slows to a glacial drip around you, trying to take the guy out. Graven is fought over multiple increasingly tedious phases, and if you mess up on any of them, you're fired all the way back to square one. Not only is the boss arena itself tiny for a foe of his size, but he attacks with massive tentacles that are hard to dodge, cover a huge area, and completely decimate your health. On top of trying to avoid this, you also have to deal with up to 5 mud-soaked, infinitely respawning minions as well, and it's just... these enemies will constantly harass you with attacks, leaving you open to taking hits from the main boss, and it sucks. When you finally manage to drop his health bar, you're then treated to one of the most frustrating fads that have gladly died out this generation, QuickTime events. In truly terrible designed fashion, they are ridiculously fast, and failing them incurs brutal consequences. Players online have claimed losing up to 4 hours constantly dying while trying to push past this final, savage, seemingly endless trial. Number 8. Nemesis, Final Fantasy X. Nemesis has 10 million hit points. 10 million! Not only is that a gargantuan number even by Final Fantasy standards, but Nemesis just so happens to be one of the hardest bosses in the entire series to boot. Initially, it's also hard to even discern if he had an attack pattern that you could follow, as he appears to do whatever the hell he just feels like. As such, the concept of strategy becomes a mad rush to try and counter whatever the hell devastating move he's just decided to throw at you. Unless you have your Jimbo available, don't even attempt to fight unless you have a good chunk of your afternoon to fritter into the ether. He hits hard, it takes a while to understand his cycles, and he will sap your energy over the long period it takes to do any significant damage at all. If you're an expert, at the minimum you're dropping 40 minutes to this beast, but on your first playthrough you can expect a few hours getting utterly destroyed as you slowly whittle away his ridiculous health pool. Number 7. Abyssion, Tales of Symphonia. Not only is Abyssion a horrendously long boss battle, but the tasks required to face him also take an absurdly long time to complete. It requires you to collect all of the demon arms in the game that are each obtained through a quest or a boss fight. The big kicker though is that Abyssion takes and uses all of these weapons you spent an entire game gathering against you in a pretty difficult challenge. This fight has the potential to crush your entire party within a few minutes if you're ill prepared. Also, to add insult to injury, the boss scales along with the level of your party, which means that no matter how much you grind, you're actually only serving to make the fight harder. You can guarantee banking over an hour once you finally face off against him, and that's not even counting the numerous hours you'll spend on the journey to him just to earn the chance of having a go at the boss himself. Number 6. Senator Armstrong, Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. The Metal Gear franchise just doesn't do normal boss encounters, and so even this spin-off's final boss channels that ridiculous Hideo Kojima energy to the maximum degree. Armstrong is by far the hardest opponent in the game, throwing out lightning-fast attacks that are difficult to counter, while he has no problem countering your offense like it was the paw strike from a newborn Labrador or something. He is only fought over 3 phases, but good god do those 3 phases last forever, as you channel all the skill that you can into passing just a single one of them. The fight also decides to throw quick time events into the fray as well, just to rub salt into the wound, and each stage requires the combined knowledge of everything you have learned throughout the game if you hope to stand even a chance of beating him. You are mercifully granted a checkpoint between phases, but even skilled players can be looking at an hour of full throttle punishment before the nanomachine riddled senator finally pops his clogs. Number 5. The Immortal One: Lost Odyssey. Every Lost Odyssey player will warn you, do not even attempt this fight until your entire party of immortals is level 75 or more. It's one of the hardest bosses in the entire game, and purely for the hardcore of the hardcore who wish to test their mettle against this punishing side quest end boss. The Immortal One packs one hell of a punch with its attacks, and comes into battle with a crazy big health pool that you'll spend the entire fight chipping away at. It can also cast Divide, which will absolutely haunt your nightmares as it can injure your party immensely or just completely kill the entirety of them outright. Then it also has the joyful option of healing itself for over 30,000 damage each turn if it casts Generatus, and you better hope your damage output can match that, or else you'll be fighting an uphill battle. Mindlessly slashing away is going to get you nowhere, so your entire focus is required to implement the tactics needed to kill this notorious foe. Players will need to spend a good hour or more trying to take out this resilient boy, and that's just if you survive what it puts you through. Number 4. The End: Metal Gear Solid 3: Snake Eater. Metal Gear Solid 3 is a game packed with amazing creative boss battles, but considered far and away the best is the lengthy duel with aging veteran The End. Set in a thick forest spread across 3 areas separated by loading screens, players are tasked to find the camouflage sniper while he sits in waiting ready to bring you down. If you never found the thermal goggles up to this point as well, get ready to be running around empty forests a lot. The End lives up to his reputation too, and he will easily gun down Snake with tranquilizer darts if you're careless, forcing you to wake up in jail and start the whole fight from beginning again. After you do fight him, you then have the task of sneaking up to hurt the old timer, which is harder than it sounds. The End will stun you and slip away to a new hiding spot at the slightest misstep, and if you've been pumped with a few darts already, your shaky hands make shooting him even more difficult. Players could be looking at 3 hours to track down and finally put an end to the legendary sniper, though you can just cheat the in-game clock and make him die of old age. Hey, who am I to judge? Number 3. Nyx Avatar: Persona 3. Persona 3 is not a short game, and its checkpointing system is pretty unforgivable as is. But then you reach the final boss, and you find you have to beat 13 other battles just to have a chance at facing the true final fight, all without dying even a single time. After monotonously dredging through all of these phases, the final stage has the goal to then give him a chance to charm your party members into healing him, and setting back tons of progress that you've already made. Even if you manage to avoid a game over, it's still up to 2 hours to get through all the stages the boss cycles through, depending on your skill and level. If you've died a few times, it can be difficult staying invested as you slog through each lengthy showdown all over again. This isn't a difficult fight by any means, but the hardest fight you'll have is with your own attention span trying to make it to the end without cracking under the pressure. Number 2. The Boss Rush / Yami Okami. Okami is a stunningly beautiful and creative action-adventure game with one of the most dreadful final tasks you could ask for, that being the classic boss rush. Once reaching the end of the game, players are pitted against a gauntlet of all the major demons in the game previously. They aren't easy or short by any means, and if you fail at any section, you guessed it, you get plonked right back at the beginning. Players can be looking down the barrel of up to 3 hours of gameplay completing this gauntlet just to get a crack at Yami. And even she's no slouch in terms of difficulty and health. She sifts through multiple phases, sapping yet another lengthy period of your life away as you desperately try to scrape through the game's ending. The boss rush plus Yami makes the endgame for Orokami an exercise in perseverance, even for the most patient of souls. Number 1. Yasmat, Final Fantasy XII. So, you thought Nemesis's 10 million HP bar was insane, huh? Well, that's cute, because Final Fantasy XII has an optional ultimate boss that puts that health bar to shame. That's because Yasmat comes into battle with a comical 50,112,254 HP. And no, I did not misspeak. This isn't a boss that is going to be won in just one sitting, and the developers clearly knew this, as it's the only boss on this list with a save point within the actual boss fight itself. The worst thing though is that it's not even the large health pool that makes this fight murder either, as Yasmat also packs an extra insta-kill spell, capture damage after its health goes below 50% to a pitiful 69.99, nice, and to top it off has the ability to heal itself back to full health if not caught in the act. All of this is designed to either prolong an already lengthy battle or just set back your progress so much that you'd be forgiven for shutting off the game and burning the disc out of frustration. So that's our list. Want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Are there any arduous boss fight slogs that I missed off here? And how long did these guys take you? Either way, while you're down there, could you give us a like, share, subscribe, and head over to WhatCulture.com for more lists and news like this every single day. Even if you don't though, I've been Josh, thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.